Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Proline as we head to Conference Championship Weekend. We are down to 4 teams left in the big chase for the big prize. And tell you what, playoffs been pretty good so far. Lots of good action out there. Chirimbes is here. Jim Feist, Jeff Saad from Las Vegas Sports Services. My name is Dave Cokin. We are glad to have you with us. Lots to talk about today. We've got a college basketball game we're going to preview, an NFL game, an NBA game we're going to preview, and both of the conference championships as well. We've got some tremendous special offers to say about as well. Let's start it off with the big game guy, Chirimbes.
Well, I stubbed my toe last weekend with the Green Bay Packers, Dave, but we always bounce back, and we've always had a tremendous success in this championship series. I'm going to have my AFC Game of the Year, Championship Game of the Year between the Patriots and the Ravens. And, of course, you'll be able to get that online. That's a $99 game, and they'll be able to get it for $10 by calling my offices at 866-899-9642.
All right.
Or is it 9462? Well, it would be if I gave you the number right. It's 866-899-9462.
There you go. I was looking for your phone number on this list, and I can't find it myself, but I think you got it.
Well, it's very private and very, very, very secret.
Very secret.
We don't want any customers to get a hold of us.
Jeff, you've been just killing. You've been killing the baskets. I know because I see the plays, and you're on another one of your rules of basketball. So, what do you got coming up this weekend?
Well, I've been red hot with my basketball best bets. For $19, you'll get a 5-play countdown on Saturday, including my best bet college game of the month. And if you call on Friday, you get my 2 top NBA plays from Friday night. So you get 7 plays for $19. And I hope this number is right. The number to call is 1-866-575-8918, 1-866-575-8918. 7 plays for $19, 5-play countdown on Saturday, including my best bet college game of the month. And if you call on Friday, you can also get my 2 top NBA plays on Friday.
I had my NFL playoff total of the year. Got to the winner's circle last weekend, and we will try and keep it going this weekend with what I actually like the card better this weekend than I did last weekend, and I did really well with the football. This is a 2-year run now in the playoffs that's been staggering. I won every single side in last year's playoffs. Now I've lost a couple this year, but still way ahead once again. And I've got my NFL playoff game of the year going on Sunday. The special offer, now it'll be online for, well, I haven't decided how much yet, but it won't be $19. I can guarantee you that it's going to be more than that. But if you call the special, it'll be $19. I'm going to include a pair of college basketball releases going on Saturday. And if you sign up on Friday, you'll get my NBA window game high roller. That's a $500 value by itself. That will be included as well. So there's 4 really big plays here, including the NFL playoff game of the year, for $19. And all you got to do is make one phone call, 1-866-841-1665. That's 1-866-841-1665. Also a reminder, my daily free plays, you can get those in a text message. Just text Cokin, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131. Within seconds, you'll get back that day's free play. Or you can always call and get the game on tape, toll-free, 1-888-712-6800. Free plays every day. Jim? Well, this is your time of year. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and you've been winning at these a long time. And I know the basketball has been, your numbers have been phenomenal so far since conference play started. They've just been outstanding. Lots of plays and a big winning percentage. That's good news.
It has been very good. I had an exceptionally good preseason also before the conference games started, and then I kind of switched gears and started looking at the games a little bit differently, and that's been red hot as well. So it's been a remarkable college basketball season. Last week I was 5-3 in the NFL, 2-2 Saturday, 2-0 with my high rollers. I had Broncos over. I had a text play on the 49ers, 3-1 on Sunday, cashing with the Texans. The Giants and Packers over, and my NFL game of the year on the Giants. So That's another big underdog winner straight up on the road at Green Bay. That was a monster. So we got some big games coming up this weekend. We talked about it. I'm 54-35 in college basketball, 11-5 in my last 3 weeks in high rollers. It's been monster so far. This week, I've got a $25 offer, College Hoops Platinum Game of the Month. That goes this Saturday, plus both NFL Sunday games, all 3 plays for $25. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers on Friday, you'll get Friday night's NBA Mismatch Game of the Year, a bankroll builder for the weekend, all for $25. 1-866-841-1655. 1-866-841-1655. If you want to win, make that call.
Okay, well, let's talk about some games. Jeff, how about you and I looking at the Florida State-Duke game, ACC action? The Blue Devils, they don't lose too many in Cameron. Florida State, I think they would qualify as an early season disappointment. Their non-conference play, not very good. To me, it seemed as though they weren't paying attention to what got them as far as they went last year, which was defense. They're not a great offensive team. When they play good defense, though, they can hang with anybody. I think maybe we're, reading their own press clippings or hung over from last season. But now that conference play started, kind of looks like Florida State's getting back to playing the style of basketball that they're going to do well with. You give them any chance here, Jeff?
Yeah, well, they did a good job of avoiding a letdown after that big one over North Carolina. They came out a little flat, but they pulled away in the second half for the win and cover. They won 3 in a row after losing by 20 at Clemson. And Bernard James has done a great job filling in for Terrence Shannon, who's out for the season with an injury. Duke's 15-2, but only 7-10 against the spread, 1-3 against the spread the last 4 games. But this is a revenge game for the Blue Devils. They lost at Tallahassee last year, 66-61. Florida State already has lost on the road by 20 in that Clemson game that I mentioned. They also lost by 18 at Florida, by 16 at Michigan State. So on the road here, I'm going to lean toward Duke to cover the number again at Cameron on Saturday.
I think I'm going to... I hate to go the opposite way because, we're trying to give them a side in these games, but, I'll have to wait and see on the number, but rather than do that, I'm going to look at the total here. I don't know what the total is going to be on the game. It'll be reasonably low. But Florida State, when they got it together and played a good game against North Carolina, they did it with defense. This team is not going to go out and outscore people. I really think they got a little hung up in thinking that they could go out there and out-athlete teams this year and, be a little more flashy than they were last year. That's not going to work, and Hamilton knows it. This team has to go out and grind it out, pound the boards, and just keep things ugly. That's how Florida State can do reasonably well and make it back to an NCAA tournament. Well, they certainly need to do that here. They do not want to turn this into a track meet with Duke because they're going to lose if that happens. So I think the tempo here is going to be forced by Florida State to some extent, and I think this will be a lower scoring game. So I'm going to go with the under in this contest. So Jeff, Duke minus the points, and I'll take under in the Florida State-Duke game. Chip, let's go to you and talk about the matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the New York Knicks. The Knicks, a little bit inconsistent so far. Denver hasn't seemed to have missed a beat, despite the fact that they've got some guys playing overseas who they would like to have back right now, but they can't get out of their contract.
Yeah, really.
Well, Carmelo is going up against his former club, of course. That'll be the storyline.
Yep.
Knicks have had little health problems, Stoudemire, but they're very inconsistent so far. And Dave, like you said, I've been very impressed with Denver, not only at home where they traditionally just pound people, but they've actually played pretty well on the road as well. I think that Denver has just got more team unity right now than the Knicks do. I think the Knicks are a bunch of individuals that are still trying to find themselves, maybe much like the Heat were last year. And, by the way, I think the Heat are dramatically improved, not to get off the subject. But I think Denver's the side, and I'd rather have the Nuggets than the Knicks in this one.
Jim, you have you taken any look at this game? I know you pay way more attention to the college stuff.
I do. I would have to defer to Chipper on this. I think his point of view on the game is exactly what mine would be. I really don't have much to add to that. I do focus more on the colleges. There's no question about that.
You also focus on the prop bets that come up at this time of year in the NFL. And I know you played a bunch of them last weekend and did pretty well with them. So you got some things in mind for this weekend?
Well, my biggest one last week was the tendency for San Francisco not to be great in the red zone and kicking a lot of field goals. Now I know they did score a lot of points last week, and Smith was a lot more active throwing the ball and very much more high scoring game from the San Francisco standpoint than pretty much anybody thought. It was quite remarkable. Of course, they did benefit from 5 turnovers, but I do have to give them credit in that regard for being probably the hardest hitting defense in football. Last week I had the field goals over 3.5, and that was pretty easy. I think you have to look for another situation this week. In the same situation, they're going up against a Giant team with a much better defense than they ran into last week with the Saints. And they do have a tendency in the red zone to not score touchdowns, and they're going to have problems against the Giant defense, which is pretty tough. I mean, they're one of the only teams in football that can put a lot of pressure on you with their front four and don't have to use a lot of blitz packages to do it. So that's going to make it hard for them. I'm looking for a lot of field goals in this game.
Anybody else got any props that they've looked at? This is not an area of specialty for me.
Well, I like the Tom Brady over 2.5 touchdown passes. Last I checked, it was plus 125. And with all those weapons, with Gronkowski and Hernandez and Wes Welker, who didn't play in the game 2 years ago when he lost to the Ravens, I think over 2.5 touchdowns to Tom Brady is a good bet.
Yeah,
I like that one, Jeff. That sounds like a pretty good bet.
Yeah, Brady's pretty good.
Plus 125. Yeah.
This just in. Brady can play. What's interesting though is that this has been a season of incredible offense. He had 4 guys throw for over 5,000 yards. Unbelievable. One person had ever done it. But look what happened in the playoffs. Green Bay, big offense. Out. New Orleans, gigantic offense. They're gone. The Patriots, well, they have a gigantic offense, but they faced a team that could have been 4-12 just as easily as they were 8-8 in the regular season. That's a fact. I mean, the Broncos won. They were 4-0 in overtime games. They're a bad football team that happened to get in the playoffs. So, does this mean that defense, now that it's the playoffs, is a defense that once again is taking a little more control? Because I mean, even in that high-scoring Saints 49ers game, it was really the 49ers defense that won the game for them. Alex Smith did a great job, but they don't get those 17 points basically created from the defense. They don't win a football game. So is that...
Take a look at the defensive numbers that we have. The best defense that we have out there today, still in the playoffs, is San Francisco, allowing 15 points a game. The second best, the third-ranked team is Baltimore, allowing 16 points a game. Pittsburgh was the number 1 ranked defense, and they're out of it. They gave up a ton of points. Of course, they had some injuries, and the injuries do play a part in this. Years ago, the NFL changed the rules. They wanted more offense. When you go back to the Baltimore Ravens, which was the last really great defense we had,
right.
and I don't remember what year that was, but
2000.
They were 2000.
It was 2000.
They allowed less than 10 points per game. Was that not true? Less than 10 points a game?
They would send Trent Dilfer out there and say, please don't turn the ball over, and we'll win.
Right. Now, go back to 86. What was it, 86 with the Chicago Bears? They allowed like 8 points per game. You can't have that anymore because they give the offenses all the privileges. And then if a defensive player happens to tackle the guy, because he's defenseless, which is a bunch of bullshit, You're on a football field. Your defenses. So, hey guys, this is football. It's tough. It's a tough game. If you're not, put a goddamn dress on. There are no great defenses anymore. Look at the Saints did last week in San Francisco. The Saints gave up 5 turnovers in that game, and they still scored 32 points. And this is one of the best defenses in football.
Yeah.
And they gave up 32 points. Baltimore last week against a rookie quarterback, which is the only reason they won that game is because they faked him out so much. Ed Reed, they bluffed him out of everything he was doing, and Yates throws all those interceptions. Baltimore should have lost the game. They were out-yarded in the game by over 100 yards. So the defenses are nullified. They're neutered. They've calmed down. Yes, if you have a decent defense, but you're no great defenses anymore. Period.
Well, let's look at
Jim, I want to say something.
Good, Chip.
Dave, I just want to make one comment about the defenses. At this time, you've seen everything that everybody has. I mean, after playing all these games, they've shown you all their offensive weapons, and it's pretty difficult to create new wrinkles at this time. And, of course, I think people get a little bit more conservative in these games because they are so important, and they're not as big risk takers, unless you're Mike Smith of Atlanta, of course. But otherwise, defenses do look like they are surfacing in a league like Jim said, where defense doesn't count anymore.
Well, let's look at the games this weekend. We might not necessarily give you our selections here because, well, those are for our personal service customers. But we'll give you some ideas of things that need to take place for teams to get to the winner's circle this week. I'll start on the Ravens-Patriots. Listen, Baltimore was just flat out lucky last week. They had 4 potential turnovers themselves in that game, but they recovered all of them. So they did not deserve to win that game last week. I'm glad it worked out the way it did because I had Houston plus the points, and at least the Texans were able to cover the spread, which is really all that mattered to me. But Houston should have won that football game. The Ravens will have to play better if they want to get to the Super Bowl. Interesting. I think there is something to this. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to sway my pick on the football game, but it's a strange time for Ed Reed to come out and basically question the poise of his quarterback. It sounds to me, the fallout from this sounds like there's just a little bit of tension. Apparently he says, well, I called him to apologize, and he left a message on his answering machine, and Flacco just texted him back. Sounds like there might be a little... I don't think Joe Flacco's real happy about what took place here. Now, does that motivate him? If you need motivation to play in the AFC title game, then there's a problem to begin with. So I don't buy what Ed Reed is saying. I think Ed Reed just kind of put his foot in his mouth and should have kept it shut. Whether that has an impact on this game, I don't know. I do know this. If the Ravens play like they did last weekend, they have no chance this football game. I think they'll play a lot better, personally. But I do know this. They better play better because New England isn't going to let them off the hook like Houston did. That's not Tyler Yates playing quarterback for the Patriots.
The one problem you have comparing New England to Houston is New England doesn't run the ball like Houston does.
Nope.
And they don't have Foster or Tate in the backfield. And if you're talking about defenses, they also don't have a defense like Houston has. So there's 3 elements there that are not comparable. Of course, now you are comparing Yates to Brady, which obviously there's no comparison at all.
No.
Brady, New England hasn't had the greatest amount of luck against this defense in the past. This is Baltimore has some defensive players that are absolute superstars, and you mentioned one of them in Ed Reed. But they are something to behold. But they can be beat. They're on the road where they don't play all that well. They play much better at home. New England's defense is probably underrated. They're ranked 11th in the league. But considering they're always ahead by 30 points, other teams, are able to move the ball because they're not playing very aggressive defense at that moment. I think they're better than people give them credit. I mean, look at the Giants. They're ranked 22nd in the league on defense. I hate to tell you guys, but I don't think they're any worse than maybe 4th in the league. But they had a lot of injuries all year long. There are tons of injuries. Now they're healthy. So this is a totally different team. We've got to look at the teams as they are right now and forget about what happened in the first 10 weeks. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what's going to happen this Sunday.
Yeah, the Patriots defense, I think, is getting kind of a bad rap. They're playing better and they're healthier than they've been all season. Patrick Chung and Brandon Spikes are back. They both missed 8 games. They have 34 takeaways. They give up 119 rushing yards per game. That's not terrible. Right. The one reason the Pats give up so many yards is the other teams are constantly trying to keep up with Tom Brady's offense. Like in Week 17, Buffalo got out to a 21-0 lead. Ryan Fitzpatrick knew he had to keep throwing. He ended up with 307 yards, but his team lost 49-21. The Ravens needed 4 turnovers last week to barely beat the Texans, and now they go on the road against Brady and company. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Ravens.
Chip?
Well, the Ravens, after scoring 17 points in the first 8-9 minutes of the game, they didn't get a score until a field goal in the fourth quarter. It's like they just stopped playing. And if you watched that game and you didn't know who was who, you would definitely think that Houston was the better team. And Ed Reed, maybe he's trying to get Flacco to actually put his act together because he did look terrible. And it looked like he made bad decisions. And it looked like they were just going through the motions from that midway point in the first period. They were totally outplayed, and we've already said that a number of times. I think their concentration level will be a little stronger this weekend, though I know going up to New England is a tough place to win, particularly when you got Tom Brady, who all of a sudden it looks like he's got that spark again, and he's just he's awesome.
But beware the team that gets lucky, because sometimes they keep getting lucky. And then the Ravens did get lucky last week. If you want another example of that, I mean, their luck finally ran out. But we talked about the Broncos. They got as lucky as any team I've ever seen in the NFL. That was an awful football team that could have easily been 4-12, and they made the playoffs. So sometimes luck does run. I don't think luck is involved in this other game, guys. The Giants are the best team in the NFC East. They deserve to win the division. They hung in there while they weren't healthy all year and got healthy at the end. And they played really good football down the stretch. And this 49er team's no fluke. I mean, this isn't one of those deals where, everything fell into place at the right time. They had good personnel there last year. Singletary just didn't know what to do with it. If you remember back to last year, going into the 2011 season, San Francisco was a big favorite to win the NFC West, and a lot of people had them as a dark horse to make some noise in the playoffs. They looked like a good football team. Well, Singletary, just quite frankly, great player, but a terrible head coach. Now they bring in a coach. They tweaked a few things on defense, but mainly just, I think, came up with better game plans. They're a better coach team than they were last year. The confidence level's high. And I don't think there's anything fluky about San Francisco. This team's legit. This is going to be a hell of a football game because you got a team that's played well all year and isn't showing any signs of letting up. And, well, the other team is really the hottest team in the league right now. I mean, the Giants they've looked like the best team in football over the last, 3 weeks, Jim?
Well, right now the Giants are the best team in football based on their accomplishments the last month. Now, whether that can carry over to a place like San Francisco with the field conditions that they have, the weather conditions that potentially are there, and against a team that nobody's had much luck with them in this ballpark. Now, I remember reflect back to a game where they visited Baltimore. And it was either a Monday night or a Sunday night game.
Thanksgiving night.
Thanksgiving night.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. And the Ravens just annihilated the offensive line of the 49ers. They're gonna face something similar to that this week. The Giants' offensive or defensive line is incredibly active. They're incredibly healthy. And their back seven is healthy this past month for the first time all year. It's a different football team. Now, I'm not knocking San Francisco, but I will say this. Last week they had 5 turnovers, and they were life and death to win it. Against a team that is not known for great defense. They got themselves in a big hole, but the Saints came back. They kept fighting back. They had the lead with 9 seconds to go. So, I was kind of taken back by that game because, A, the San Francisco defense did not look good. The Saints were able to put up a lot of points, but the San Francisco offense was much more efficient than I had ever seen them before. So it's kind of hard to know what the hell happened in that game. Alex Smith looked like he did at Utah State 8 years ago.
He was terrific. He was absolutely terrific. They made the interesting thing here. I think the weather could have a real impact on this game. The Giants are a team with a lot of defensive speed in the front line. Now, the weather forecast isn't good. It's supposed to rain all weekend at San Francisco. It's going to be warm, but it's going to be wet, and that's a slow track anyway. It's one of the slowest tracks in the NFL. If it's wet, I don't think that's a good thing for the Giants. It's going to negate their quickness. I think it's a plus for San Francisco if it's bad weather, guys.
I agree with you there, Dave. And, the big point, Jim, that you made was that San Francisco had benefited by 5 turnovers, and yet, with 20 seconds to go, they were losing this game. So they had a lot to overcome, to beat this offensive juggernaut, but they did. They made the big plays in crucial situations, and that's what it takes to win these games.
The side note to that is they were playing against a team that doesn't feature very strong defense. And they're facing a team now that has a very strong defense. So those kind of plays may not be available. When you break these teams down, the Giants' running game being healthy might be better. Their wide receivers are for sure better. Their quarterback has much more pedigree and much more success in the NFL than Alex Smith. There's a lot of advantages to the Giants in this game. Now, the big disadvantage to the Giants is they have to play on the West Coast on a field where this team doesn't lose. They're 8-0 ATS. Pretty brutal. However, the Giants on the road. Pardon me?
Well, to me, it looks like 2007 all over again. The Giants are peaking at the perfect time.
Yeah, that's right.
The 49ers have a great defense, but if they don't get turnovers, if the Giants don't make mistakes, the Giants can win the game because the Niners' offense is not good enough to overcome that. Last week, the Saints, you can overcome a mediocre defense if you get turnovers. The Saints did that 2 years ago when they won a Super Bowl. It would have worked last week, except their offense turned it over just as many times. But to me, it looks like the Giants are on a perfect roll now, and the weather could be a factor, and the under could be a good play in this game too.
Yeah.
All right,
there has been movement to the under. That game opened 44, and it's funny thing is this game opened. One of the books opened. The Giants won. Another book opened, the 49ers won. Then another book later opened the 49ers 2. The game went up to 2.5 and then to 3. backed off. Now we're looking at basically 2.5 everywhere, but the total has gone down from 44 to 42. Two places that I'm looking at 20 here have it 41.5. And I think that has a lot to do with the weather.
It does.
Because we're looking at rain. And I don't know if they're covering the field or not. But if it won't affect it too bad if they cover the field and don't let it get soaked. And then it doesn't rain during the game. That could be a factor.
If I were the 49ers, if it doesn't rain during the game, I would have the maintenance people just running on the field with water anyway. The muddier they can make this field, the better it is for the 49ers. I'm quite certain.
I agree.
A bad track favors San Francisco here. They're not as fast as the Giants. If this game were an artificial turf, if this were the Super Bowl matchup, it obviously can't be because they're in the same conference. But if this was a Super Bowl matchup indoors in Indianapolis, I'd bet a lot of money on the Giants at this price, because they're better athletes than San Francisco. But this field could definitely play a role in this football game. And don't discount the field conditions as part of the reason there were a lot of turnovers last week. Even though it wasn't sloppy, it was still a slow track that did not favor the Saints, and things kind of got messed up offensively. Gonna be fun. Anybody else got anything?
A couple of weeks ago, the NFC was 4.5 over the AFC for the Super Bowl. But the NFC had the Saints and the Packers, who were the two highest rated NFC teams. Now they're gone. I haven't seen a line on what the AFC, NFC is in the Super Bowl. Has anybody else seen it?
No, but wouldn't New England be the favorite now?
I would think New England's the favorite on that. If they're getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, if it's the Ravens and Niners, what are we going to do? That's a rematch.
Like Baltimore's favorite over San Francisco. I think the Giants would be favorite over Baltimore. But the Patriots are the top ranked on power rating.
They're the favorite over everybody. Yeah.
So
you'd have to think the Patriots would be the favorite. But if the Patriots go up against the Giants, which is a rematch of what year was that?
2007.
2008.
07 season.
07 season. Yeah.
I mean, okay, if the Patriots win and the Giants win, and let's say they both win by 7 this week.
Patriots 3.5.
It's going to be. I'm going to, I'm going to have to say that the NFC is still going to end up the favorite.
Could be.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I don't know.
When you compare the teams that these guys have beaten, the Patriots haven't done very well against playoff teams all year long. They lost, they've lost pretty much all of their matchups against playoff teams. The Giants have done a little bit better, and the Giants have played the stronger schedule down the stretch. The Patriots beat Buffalo and Denver the last 2 weeks. Come on, guys. They suck. And now if they can get by Baltimore and beat them, I mean, Baltimore has deficiencies at the quarterback position. They could end up capitalizing on that. But the Giants have beaten tough teams right down the road. I mean, this is when you compare their opponents, there is no comparison.
No, that's true. But what the Giants...
And if the Giants are healthy on defense, I don't think anybody's going to argue with me that the Giants have a better defense.
Well, they do, except here's what's going to happen. See, I got inside information here. The Patriots are going to sign Tyree just for the Super Bowl, and he's going to catch a ball on his head. And this time they're going to win.
And then he's going to open for the Red Sox.
With their pitching staff, he might might be able to get on that team.
You guys have to be careful. We got a Yankee fan here, and we got a Boston fan. We got to be real careful here. I guess that's it, Dave.
Listen, look at it this way, Chip. At least we both hate the green slime. All right.
Absolutely.
And they're gone.
Believe me, I love the Red Sox. One of my best friends is their manager.
That's right.
And I'll tell you something. He grew up a Yankee fan and hated the Red Sox all his life. And I loved it a couple of weeks ago when he said, "I hate the Yankees." I was dying laughing because.
Well, no. You see, with age comes wisdom.
He's looking
or
for
he's learned how to be. Or he's learned how to be politically correct.
Yeah, which he is not, by the way. I'll tell you that.
No, he's not. That's going to be fun. All right, what's going to be fun this weekend is we're going to win a lot of money for you guys. We've got some good offers to take advantage of. Jeff, let's start with you. Of the games we talked about, got a best bet? What do you got?
My best bet on the show was Duke. Best bet on the show was Duke. And for my best bets at WSS, just call 1-866-575-8918. You're going to get, for $19, you get a 5-play countdown on Saturday, including my best bet college game of the month. If you call Friday, you get both of my NBA top plays on Friday night. So 7 plays for $19, 1-866-575-8918.
Chip, you got some big stuff this weekend.
Yeah, it's been great. We had San Diego State last Saturday as our big college winner, and that's 4 straight Saturdays. We won our big one. Get it this weekend on Saturday. We're going to have another big-time conference game of the year. You don't want to miss this. But the biggest game of the weekend is on Sunday. It's going to be my AFC championship game of the year, Ravens and Patriots. You don't want to miss it. This game is a stone winner. You'll be able to get it for $99 online, but, of course, discount it at the offices if you call 866-899-9462. That's 866-899-9462. Get my AFC game of the year.
I haven't had too many real big basketball plays, mainly because my biggest plays come in the second half of conference play. I like the rematches where I think there's some value built into the number because revenge gets overrated. That's for down the road. But my conference games of the week have been doing extremely well. My NFL playoff super total of the year was a winner last week. So the big stuff has been dynamite. And actually the small stuff's been good too. It's been a good run. This weekend I've got my NFL playoff game of the year. That goes on Sunday, obviously. But before that, I've got some good college basketball, 2 real good games on Saturday. Plus, if you sign up on Friday, you'll get my window game that I've got on the Friday night slate. That's a high roller play that sells for $500. This entire package of 4 big games is just $19. So make the call and win. 1-866-841-1665. That's 1-866-841-1665. And if the games we talked about today, I'm going to say my best bet would be the under in the Florida State-Duke game. I think the Seminoles can slow things down enough to give themselves a chance in the game. The only way they're going to have a chance is to make it as ugly as possible with Duke. Jim?
Well, Dave, I've been doing pretty well in the football pretty much all season. The high rollers have been amazing. I think we're 11-5 streak. Well, that's in college basketball. 11-5 streak in the high rollers the last 3 weeks. 54-35 in college basketball. Did great in the NFL. Had the 2 high rollers this past weekend and a text play on the 49ers as well. So it's been a sweet run. And this weekend, $25 college hoops platinum game of the month. This one goes on Saturday and the NFL on Sunday. All 3 plays, $25. Plus, if you're the first 100 callers, you get the NBA mismatch game of the year going this weekend. All for $25. 1-866-841-1655. As far as a best bet, I really don't have one at this moment. I hate the cop out on it. I don't like telling you to bet on something that I'm not 100% sure of at the moment. It is Thursday. We got a couple days to decide what to do in the NFL, and I am definitely looking at the weather conditions as part of the factor. But that's it for me.
that's it for all of us. So next up, we'll start to break down the Super Bowl. Next time we do this, we'll know who's playing, and it's where it gets. Let the hype begin. I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, we've got 4 quality teams left. We're going to have a good Super Bowl matchup this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll start breaking it down. When Jim and myself come back on Monday. Meanwhile, take advantage of the offers. Call any or all of us. Win some money this weekend. You know, these big games are a lot more fun when you win them than when you have to go pay a guy on Tuesday. That sucks. I mean, that's no fun. And we're all doing pretty well right now, so I think you'll have a real good chance of putting some profits in your pocket by taking advantage of the offers. That's it for the guys. See you later.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.